Submitted for your consideration, the case file of one Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, born Herman Mudgett. To the untrained eye, he may appear unassuming, perhaps even charming to some of the ladies gathered here this evening. But believe me when I tell you that this creature, in his heyday, committed such heinous and violent acts, the likes of which I've never seen in all my years as a trained detective, nor ever wish to see again, for that matter. But you knew that already, didn't you? That's why you're here, after all, isn't it? To learn the truth, to hear the story yourself from the man who brought him to justice. The monster has already made his case. Even now, his confession circulates in print for the hungry public to devour. Lies. So many lies. Yet, what else should one expect of a sociopath?
What makes a man determined to dance to a drumbeat perverse and profane? To exact that profanity out on humanity with no thought of pity or pain. Is it nurture or nature responsible that invokes an iniquitous bent? Or is something morphonic, depraved and demonic, the means to his murderous end? For years I have looked for an answer to interpret this tragic affair, but the motive I crave now lies cold in the grave, a secret to all but him there. Terrible thing while allowing his legend to live. For despite our revulsion, a morbid compulsion won't let us forget or forgive. Though my own tale is none of importance, I wouldn't know where to begin. You must allow me to guide you, wander beside you, for darkness awaits us within. So let us look back, let us turn back the clock to an earlier marker in time. Let us seek the humanity, need the insanity, long before castles and crime. And let us give voice to the voiceless. They may sing, and if it may be, let the truth set us free. From this old too real parable, sickening and cerebral, the bowler and butcher we bring. For I'm certain you'll find, of all horrors combined, the mind is the most terrible, terrible thing.
Today, class, we will continue our examination of the circulatory system.
He wasn't always Henry Howard Holmes, you know.
We have already explored the arterial and venous systems of the human anatomy.
He was once a curious and ambitious young medical student at the University of Michigan.
And today, we will begin with the most vital of organs, the heart.
To his professors and fellow classmates, he was just Herman Webster Mudgett, then.
Now, who would like to make the first incision into the chest cavity?
Oh, I will, Professor.
Very good, Mr. Mudgett. Carefully now. Mind the sternum. We mustn't damage our instruments through haste.
I know what I'm doing.
Oh, dear Lord. I shall never get used to that stench.
Better get used to it, young man. That pungent odor is formaldehyde, a chemical compound for which you should be grateful. 10 years ago, we would not have had the privilege of working on a cadaver in such fine condition.
Couldn't they have just iced the body?
Leaves too many marks.
Yes, correct again, Mr. Mudgett. The formaldehyde ensures that the specimen remains
Fresh.
preserved. I don't believe fresh is an appropriate term.
Professor, where do these bodies come from?
Well, the dregs of society. Unfortunates of our local communities. This poor fellow was probably paid 2 bits for the use of his corpse, and then squandered it on drink or some other vice, I'll wager.
Isn't that a bit presumptuous, Professor?
Unfortunately, Mr. Mudgett, it is a cold fact of our society. Take our friend over here. She was sold to us anonymously by some enterprising young fellow. She appears to be whole, but she could just as easily be the culmination of many women. Cheap streetwalkers, foolish runaways, who have no friends or relatives to collect their remains.
You wouldn't be so callous if it was one of your own.
What was that?
Nothing, sir.
I thought not. Shall we continue? The heart, the engine of the human form, and in such remarkably good condition. Notice that there are no lesions or imperfections marring the parietal pericardium.
Visceral.
What?
You meant the visceral pericardium, sir.
Mr. Mudgett, are you challenging my expertise?
No, sir. I'm not challenging, correcting it.
Herman, please, let him speak.
No. This sort of attitude has gone on long enough. Why do you presume to constantly question my authority, Mr. Mudgett? From the moment that you arrived on this campus, I've had to put up with your ego, your smugness. I refuse to tolerate this sort of defiance in my classroom any longer. Who do you think you are?
Someone and something you'll never be.
And what, pray tell, is that?
Great. I will not settle into a life of pleasant academia, those who cannot do, after all.
The rest of you, leave us. We'll continue this shortly. Right now, I need to have a word with Mr. Mudgett, alone. Mr. Mudgett, in spite of all of your insolence, I must admit that you show great promise. I had hoped that by now you would have grown and matured into a serious student. But your constant self-conceit and macabre curiosity have given me reason to doubt. Unless you're willing to change, I'm afraid that your temperament is going to impede your ability to become an effective surgeon. This is what you lack. Without it, you're nothing. You will never achieve greatness.
Heartless. You call me heartless? Professor, you assume an awful lot. Focused, maybe, ambitious, perhaps, but insolent and heartless I am not. What you perceive as my conceit and my defiance is in reality a touch of something more. A history of hurt and self-reliance, which from your cozy social strata and myopic bits of data, I doubt you would have heard the like before. Ever since I can remember, I've been scrounging and surviving. It was a butcher shop that brought me here, not scholarship, but striving. From the slaughterhouse to the surgery, see me come alive as my drive expands. Do not let my hated history define me, for I have taken life into my hands. My past. Don't ask me of my past. Father often raged and beat us in his fierce intoxication, while Mother had her Bible hell-bent on our salvation. Between a drunkard and the pious, how do you live with such demands? To escape the cruel duality, the base and blind banality, I fashioned my reality, and I put life in my hands. Even as a schoolboy, how the other children taunted me. Yet from their wanton jealous pranks, somehow I've come to offer thanks for an incident that ever since has haunted me. They dragged me down to the doctor's place and locked me into that tiny space and forced me to stare into the empty eyes of a skeleton on a stand. And in their torments crude and base, they placed his hands upon my face and held me there in his cold embrace until I was unmanned. And though at first I screamed and I cried with fear, the feeling quickly passed. For although they meant to torture me, the sensation didn't last. For when faced with a grisly reminder of mankind's ultimate end, I suddenly realized then and there, locked in the gaze of a death's head stare, that I had a say in the when and where, and my fear became my friend. I had a chance to change my fate, I had a chance to choose, so with nothing left to lose, I chose life, and I took life. From that first macabre obsession comes the path I now pursue, to make life my profession and to take life from it too. And I will not halt my progression over the likes of you. So how dare you call me heartless? You know nothing of my being. How can you understand me when you don't know what you're seeing? I will not let you judge me. I rebuke your reprimands. Hear the sound of the pounding in my breast, louder and prouder than all the rest. I know time will show, even though no one understands. For I will have life, and I shall have life when I take my own life in my hands.
How lofty are the delusions of the young! How easily we build our ivory towers! In spite of his grandiose ambitions, Herman Webster Mudgett never amounted to more than a mediocre student, at best. He graduated in June 1884 and almost immediately set off in search of some favorable location to establish his practice. The next few years were filled with unsuccessful business ventures, constant trials and errors, traveling from one community to another. But for now, we shall let that pass. Instead, let us move forward to summer's end of 1886, when the next significant chapter of our story begins to unfold in the most unusual of settings. A small Midwestern suburb whose unsuspecting citizens remain blissfully unaware that their lives will soon be forever changed.
6 miles south of the city of Chicago, a budding young community thrives, replete in chic gentility and sleek tranquility and neatly well-ordered lives. 6 miles south of the worry and the hurry, well away from the stench and the strife. Come by rail or by cart, where you can make a new start and find a simpler side to life. Welcome to our village of Englewood, a thriving hideaway. Escape the masses and the village in Englewood, we're about a streetcar ride away. 6 miles south of the second largest city in the greatest nation anywhere. Savor urban amenities without the obscenities in sweet suburban air.
To the good citizens of Englewood, a new face was nothing new. Ever since the Great Fire 20 years earlier, droves of people had continued to flee the increasingly hostile conditions of inner-city Chicago in pursuit of a happier existence. Even the wealthiest men of Chicago industry chose to build their homes here. What better place could one ask to build a future, or else come to forget one's past?
Welcome, welcome, one and all. 6 miles south of the city of Chicago, I think I found a place to fit in. A setting to pursue stability and true civility, where nobody knows who I've been. 6 miles south of the gritty inner city, after years of fears of failings and plans, perhaps amid the serenity I can build an identity to put life in my hands.
Whoa now, Sonny, easy does it. Where's the fire? Wait, what, did you think I was gonna hit you or something? Oh, you must be one of them new arrivals. Well, buddy, let me tell you this right now. The boys on the force around here don't act nothing like them Chicago cops do. Hell, we don't even see half the action that them poor city bastards gotta put up with. Really, the only reason we even got a squad around here is to make the locals feel safe and to keep them rich folks happy.
How most reassuring.
Yeah, we got it pretty good around here. Now why don't you pull that stick out and stay a while? I think you're gonna like it around here, Mr.
Holmes. Dr. Holmes.
Well, put her there, Doc. It's a pleasure to meet you, and good luck to you. Oh, and don't forget, fella, you're in Englewood now.
I think I'm going to like it here.
Welcome, welcome, one and all. 6 miles south of the fetid urban jungle, out of reach of the crime and the crow, there's a residence of tree-lined avenues and well-heeled avenues, a refuge for those in the night. I know I'm gonna like it here. In sight of the city of Chicago, removed from the filth and the fear. Come take a walk after dark down in Washington Park, or take a stroll down the street without the noise of the feet. It's so precise and pristine, almost surreally serene. We know you're going to like it. Here in sight of the city of Chicago,